Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 12. I hope we're all doing well and staying healthy. I hope the background noise isn't too bad. I'm in my office right now, and the powers that be have deemed that we need to save energy, and so we can't use the air conditioners. So I have the fan going, the window open, so hopefully it doesn't sound too bad. Either way, I think it will sound better than the earlier lessons at least. But let's get with week 12. We'll have warm up, we'll talk about some more consonants, and we're going to talk about lesson planning as well. I know for your video lessons, you wrote short little lesson plans, but we're going to go in a bit more detail and examine a bit more about what each section is. Looking through your video lessons, making slow progress, but progress nonetheless. Overall, everything's much better than I expected. And my expectations were very low because I can't see you and see how you develop. So overall, we're doing much better. There's some miscommunication, I believe, on my part on what I expected, but that's okay. I'm being generous and forgiving in this first lesson because, as I'm pretty sure, you've never done a lesson, let alone a video lesson before. So this is a learning experience for everyone. So we've got some more things today and this week. We've got these fun characters. We have duh and the. Duh, the. So we can see on the illustrations how these are both voiced sounds, and the tongue placement is quite close. With duh, the tongue goes behind the teeth. Duh, duh, duh. This is duh as an and. Duh, 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 duh. And with the, our tongue goes in between. It's interdental. So duh, the, duh, the, duh, the, duh, the. And if you put your fingers on your throat while you say, you can hear both are voiced. Duh, the, duh, the. So making the interdental, that's putting your tongue between your teeth, that's where we get the TH sound. Okay. So I believe we mentioned before some regional dialects or some speech, in what we might call speech impediments or incorrectly speaking, it's very easy to, instead of saying th the, to replace it with a duh sound. So we can hear dan, than, the, together. You can hear the friction there. Together. Feathers. Smoother. Or if you prefer, smother. Rather. Clothes. Be careful. With this word in particular, clothes, in English is a two-syllable word, clothes. So in Korean, we'd like to make it into three-syllable, clothes, or clothes, or cloths, which is more sensical if we read it, but clothes. Brothers, mother. This, that. If we were to change the sound into a duh sound, mother becomes mudder. This becomes dis. That becomes dat. We do hear people talk like that, especially when they're speaking in vernacular or speaking quickly. So it is something we do hear. Whether it's prescriptively correct, it's not, but people do talk like that. So it's something to be aware of. When you hear the word this pronounced as dis, children especially, because they're not as articulate, their tongues aren't fully developed, so to speak. It's a very common mispronunciation by children who are developing their speaking abilities. Let's check over here on the right side. Live, but then dare. But if we change it to a th, dare becomes there. Dare, there. Doze, those. Doze, those. Be aware that the S is a Z sound. Ida, the name Ida. Either. Ida, either. I say either. Some people say either as well. You both are. We have to get more into the finer parts of English phonology when we say either or either. But Ida, either. Another, leather. As we see here, day, they. We do hear people say they as day. So in order to make sure we understand them, we need to pay attention to their whole phrases, what they're saying in the complete phrase or sentences. So if you might hear people say, instead of who are they, be who are they. We know through the context that we see the question word who, then we're not going to be talking about this thing. We'll be talking about this thing. So context clues in listening to the complete phrases, even if we don't understand 100% or even 80% of the individual words, we can guess what the person is trying to say. Okay. Next, it brings up another thing. We have the S sound, S, and this is a fun one. The th, not the v, the th. As we see here, these are unvoiced or not voiced. So we bring it back. The tongue placement for duh, and th are both voiced. We see duh, the tongue is touching the front, but with s, it's not touching. And with th, not the, duh, the, but with think, the th, as in think, it's unvoiced. We can see also that s is a continuate, as in we can keep saying it forever and ever. And so is think. We can say both these continuously until we run out of breath. So, voiceless, both are voiceless. And I believe I mentioned before, maybe a few weeks ago, I used to have a hard time saying my S's. I spoke with a lisp, which means my S sounds, my S sounds came out as th sounds. And I had this lisp until middle school, about middle school, second grade, until I slowed down my speech. And I was much more careful about my tongue placement. And if I get very angry or very tired, the lisp can come back. But it is something to be that I used to speak with naturally. So mouse, I was mouth. So when I was a kid, I couldn't say mouse, some, Smiths, thanks, sheath, song. So I'll give you an example of how I used to talk. So mouse was mouth. Thin. So some I pronounced as thumb. Thanks, I would often say thanks. Worth. Smiths, I pronounce thvith. It wasn't pretty. Breath, or breathe. Three. Thirst, pronounced theft. Worth. Sheath. Fifth. thick, author, sick, thick. So again, with how I talked, people had a harder time understanding me as a child. So, for example, he is very sick. That person is they're not well, they're ill. He is very sick becomes he is very thick, and that changes the meaning of the entire sentence. So it's something to be aware of. Sink becomes think, almost as in think. So sink, think. Birthday, pass, path. Moths, this one was a hard time with. Moths, I pronounce as moth, just extending the th sound more. This one we have a lot of fun with, a lot of difficulty in pronouncing them, because as we recall, in Korean with the liot, these sounds are combined. In fact, most languages in the world, the L and R are a combination. It's mostly Western European languages that separate the sounds. We can see with the L, our tongue goes up. And with the R, R, the tongue, the back of the middle of the tongue goes up and back. So this is something we get to practice with. L, bill. Bringing that tongue up and forward. Bill. Help. Please make sure you're practicing as well. Help. But if we go to the R, restaurant. Bring the tongue back. Married. Holding. The tongue goes forward. Holding. Uncle. Tongue goes back. Proud. Grown up. Tongue goes forward. Tell. Ball. Tongue goes back. Russia. Nice sh sound there too. Railway. Tongue goes forward again. Pull. Ow. Really. So this is a good practice. Goes forward, then back. Goes back, then forward. Really. Library. Small. Always. Cleverest. Australia. We have Raelia. Australia. Little. Golf. Children. And interesting. All right. So la and ra. Nice, good practice. Tongue twisters. All right. Nice short one. We see. Let's read it to ourselves for 5 seconds. All right. Let's try together. Tea with a twin. Well, excuse me. I can't read. It's too hot. Tea with a thin twin tinsmith singing things. Tea with a thin twin tinsmith singing things. Tea with a thin twin tinsmith singing things. So we have tea with the thin twin tinsmiths singing things. Tea with the thin twin tinsmith singing things. So especially here, my lisp really wants to come out. So this is an uncomfortable one for me, to be honest. Tea with a thin twin tinsmith singing things. I can't do that one quickly. But let's try this one. I think that you think that he thinks that he knows this. Nice and easy. I think that you think that he thinks that he knows this. I think that you think that he thinks that he knows this. I think that you think that he thinks that he knows this. I think that you think that he thinks that he knows this. I think that he. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I think that you think that he thinks that he knows this. So go ahead and practice there. Oh my goodness. It's hot. All right. Rarely wrinkled raisins race rare rabbits. Nice and easy. Rarely wrinkled raisins race rare rabbits. Rarely wrinkled raisins race rare rabbits. Rarely wrinkled raisins race rare rabbits. And you? Love's a feeling you feel when you feel you're going to feel the feeling you've never felt before. Love's a feeling you feel when you feel you're going to feel the feeling you've never felt before. Love's a feeling you feel when you feel you're going to feel the feeling you've never felt before. Love's a feeling you feel when you feel you're going to feel the feeling you've never felt before. Okay, go ahead and try that one. Okay, those are our main pronunciations. Let's go into a little more detail, a little more review of lesson planning. It's something that's going to come up more and more often as you continue your educational career. And so something about lesson planning is that as a teacher, you're going to need to provide documentation of what you're doing. And having lesson plans has been quite practical and useful for me in my years of teaching here in Korea. One, it's very easy for record keeping, what lessons were good, what was good in the lessons, and what was not good, what wasn't a good idea, and what worked and what didn't work, what can be improved on, and what did students react to, what did they react positively to, and what did they not like so much. And also, in the event that you have complaints about you, I taught at a middle school in Seoul, in Gurogu, nearby the Gochuk Skydome. Actually, they hadn't built it yet then. But I had complaints from 4 different mothers on the same day that I hated Korea, that I was racist, and that I was a very bad teacher, and that my lesson that day was about how Korea was bad. And those 4 parents called to the vice principal of the middle school and complained about me. And the vice principal, he was a bit confused, and he was like, oh, well, let's go look at this. And he asked the Korean co-teachers about what the lesson was, and also what was a big deal. I had the lesson plan. The lesson plan was actually about writing apologies, about saying sorry, different ways to say sorry, instead of just saying, sorry. There's a lot of different ways of apologizing. But those 4 moms, their 4 daughters, were sitting together in a block, and they kept talking. So I just moved one to each corner so we could have a lesson. This upset the girls greatly. They were very insulted. So they decided to complain about me to their moms and exaggerate things. I don't want to say they lied, but they misrepresented what the lesson was. But because I had the actual documentation, the proof, what we did, and amongst other evidence, the vice principal was able to respond and was able to defend me against the mothers. If I didn't have that evidence, I would have had a much harder time. So having a lesson plan, a document, can help protect you against certain events. So that's why it's nice. It's also, that was a very practical event. Now that only happened one time, but I was very happy that I had a lesson plan because it was a stressful event. Now, also, with a lesson plan, that's helpful when you write a lesson plan. What happens, God forbid, you're crossing the street and you get hit by a car and you have to go to the hospital? Who's going to teach your lessons? A lesson plan should be easy enough to understand that someone else can read your lesson plan and do your lesson. That's how it doesn't need to be 5 or 10 pages deep. Sometime in the future, you might need to write a minute by minute lesson plan. And I've seen some other lesson plans, and my minute by minute lesson plans usually they can be 15 pages long. And that's usually a proof that I understand how to, make a plan for a lesson. But still, you're not going to do that for every lesson. It's just too much time. 1 page is almost always enough, but you should be able to explain and be understandable to if someone else were to read your lesson plan and be able to do your lesson. So if someone has to fill in to substitute for you because you can't do your own lesson plans, your own lessons, then that's where it comes in. Where having a well-written lesson plan is important so that someone else can do it. And that's a problem that I had because I would write a lesson plan and I knew what it meant until I was sick and somebody else had to come in and go, "Whoa, what is this? This is," and they just play video. So that's where lesson planning can really help you. And it helps you organize your thoughts, and it helps when it's time for you to get evaluated. There's some different words we use. And for this terminology, we'll use hook, book, took, hook, book, look, took. Even I get confused. Hook is the introduction phase. This can be a song, video clip, a role play, quiz, puzzle, riddle, story. It is the short introduction to elicit interest, to build interest and get the students' interest ready for the lesson. The book is the actual lesson bit, where this is where you teach the students new information, the words, the target language, of what they're going to learn. Look is the practicum, the activity, and took is the review. So you might review what you learned that day. Also, you'll need to go back and see and make sure that students are retaining that knowledge, how much they're remembering. This is often tests, but you can test it. When I say test students, it doesn't mean a formal evaluation. It's just seeing what they remember and what they don't remember. For the introduction, we need to generate interest, something to grab attention. With younger students, these tend to be much showier and bigger. Especially with elementary school students, with children, high energy. Now, I'm sitting at a desk right now, and I can't be, I'm hot, and I'm tired, so I'm not high energy. But in class, I have much higher energy. This is especially true, think about it, about when you watch YouTube videos. Are your favorite YouTubers high energy or low energy? And think about the really popular YouTubers. Are they high energy or low energy? Well, they're invariably high energy. And how do they start their videos? Do they start they usually start with a big attention grabber. It's estimated that you need to make a good impression on your video in the first 7 seconds, or else people can click off your video. Now, with a lesson, we have a captive audience. Students just can't click us off, generally. Now they can, but you understand the point. So, but even then, they can turn off mentally, and so it's something to be aware of. It helps to state our objectives. What are we going to do? Why are we here? And hooks, the introduction should relate to your lesson in some way. Hopefully, the more it relates, the more the better. Don't make it boring. Don't be low energy. Don't have it unrelated to the class. And make sure, if it's unclear, then why should students care? Students are rational beings. They know they have limited energy to invest towards learning something. And if they don't understand what the point is, why should they take the energy to learn it? And also, too short or also too long. Be careful with your introductions and your time management. For pre-teaching, for the book part, we have different methods of this. You'll especially go learn about this more in depth in other classes, but we need to mention it. Picture it with flashcards or PPT. In lots of our videos, we showed what the vocabulary was, whether it be pictures on the video or pointing your camera at the actual item, the realia, so to speak. Something that's nice, especially with students, we don't always know what they know because they have different sources of education. So during the pre-teaching part and a little bit during the introduction part, it's good to get a feel for what the students already know. And if you need to make things a little more difficult, a little more advanced, or if you need to make it a little simpler, a little easier, depending on what the students show you, what they know or don't know. So if you can get the students to tell you what an item is, that will help engage them and also help tell you what they know. And then also for pre-teaching, for the book phase, give the meaning. What is the meaning of the words? Giving sentence and context. Remember that language doesn't exist by itself. Words connect together into phrases. Phrases connect into paragraphs and all those wonderful things. Gesturing. This can help students remember the word. And then repetition, repeating. It helps us remember what words are important and to say it again and to hear it again. It helps pronunciation, to hear the correct pronunciation. And also practice using the word or expressions by using simple questions. This is good practice to make sure that they understand and show, and it's a way for them to display what they understand. Easiest one, example, is an elephant large or small? If a student says small, then they show a basic misunderstanding of vocabulary. And then other display questions. Can I cross the road when the light is red or green? This one is, again, these are display questions where we, the teacher, knows the answer, but we need the students to show that they know the answer. The other type of question is content questions, where we ask a question of students and we don't know the answer. Example being, lots of questions that I've asked students here at this university, and I don't get very good answers because they think I already know. It's like, what time does the library open? And I don't know. All right. So that was a brief look over of the different pronunciations of some different consonants. We're going to get into vowels next, and vowels are going to be a bit finer detail. So I hope you'll bear with us there. And also with pronunciation, with my accent, it's going to be difficult to distinguish certain sounds. Different people pronounce things differently, and so vowels are going to be a fun and exciting time. So hopefully you've been practicing along and you're having a great time, and we'll see each other again next week. And hopefully pay attention to eClass if I put material up there as well. Have a great week. Thank you and goodbye.